Hello, everyone, and welcome back to English Pod. My name is Marco.
My name is Catherine, and today we've got a great informative lesson for you.
That's right. We are going to talk about an emergency situation. So what do you do when you have an emergency?
You dial 911.
Exactly.
All right, well, maybe not in your country, but today we're talking about emergencies in America and jobs, so people who can help you in an emergency. So before we get into those words and phrases, let's take a listen to today's dialogue.
All right, class, now that we're all dressed up, let's see what professions you chose. I see a fireman, a police officer, a medic, and a lifeguard. Can anyone tell me what these people have in common?
They save people from bad things?
That's right! Now, class, if something bad happened and you had to get help, do you know what phone number you would call?
911.
Yes! You would pick up the phone and dial 911. What are some emergency situations in which you would need to dial 911?
If my grandpa had a heart attack. If there was an accident. If a robber broke into the house. If the fire alarm went off. I wouldn't call 911 if the fire alarm went off in my house. The only time that ever happens is when we're having spaghetti for supper and my mom burns the garlic bread as usual.
All right, we're back. So now we have a couple of different jobs for people that are working specifically in emergency situations. So let's take a look at those now in Language Takeaway.
Language takeaway.
All right, so we have a teacher in today's dialogue who's talking to her students about jobs. So probably these students are very young, and she says another word that means jobs. What's the word she uses?
Professions.
Professions. That's the plural. So profession is a job. Let's say, for example, a lawyer is a profession.
Or a doctor.
A doctor, a lawyer. So what's your profession is another way to ask what's your job.
All right. So they're talking about professions, and some of the kids dressed up as different people. The first one was a fireman.
A fireman. So you know the first word, fire. A fireman is a person who puts out a fire. That means he uses water to stop a fire.
Oh, very good. So a fireman puts out fires. Now, apart from a fireman, we also have a police officer.
A police officer. So an officer is someone who works in an official capacity, so in a job. So we could say he is a police officer or a policeman or a policewoman.
Okay.
So 3 ways to say this.
So officer is for both genders, right? A man or a woman could be a police officer.
That's right. So you're going to hear this very often because policeman doesn't explain a woman police officer. So we use police officer to be general.
Okay. So we have a fireman, a police officer, a medic. Now, what is this medic?
A medic is a kind of doctor, someone who will look at your health or help you if you've hurt yourself, who usually works on the road, like driving to an accident or driving to a fire with police officers. So these people help police officers and firemen when there's an emergency.
Okay. So a medic is not really a doctor. He's more of a specific person that can help you if you have maybe some cuts or bruises, or will help you out.
Right, so this person will stop your bleeding or will help take you to the hospital, and they'll make sure that you're healthy when you get to the hospital. But they are not really like a doctor where you work in a hospital or a doctor's office.
Okay. And our last profession is a lifeguard.
Well, think about these 2 words. We have life and we have guard. Guard is like protect.
So a person that protects your life.
Interesting. Well, this is someone who usually works at the beach or at a pool. They have a special chair, and usually they have a cross on their bathing suit or on their towel. And this means that they're going to help protect people who are at the beach. So if someone can't swim, the lifeguard will run or swim to get them and save them.
Okay, very good. So you have a lifeguard. Now, this is for men and women as well, right? A lifeguard.
Exactly.
Okay. So interesting professions. Why don't we listen to our dialogue again, and we'll be back shortly.
All right, class, now that we're all dressed up, let's see what professions you chose. I see a fireman, a police officer, a medic, and a lifeguard. Can anyone tell me what these people have in common?
They save people from bad things?
That's right! Now, class, if something bad happened and you had to get help, do you know what phone number you would call?
911.
Yes! You would pick up the phone and dial 911. What are some emergency situations in which you would need to dial 911?
If my grandpa had a heart attack.
If there was an accident.
If a robber broke into the house.
If the fire alarm went off.
I wouldn't call 911 if the fire alarm went off in my house. The only time that ever happens is when we're having spaghetti for supper and my mom burns the garlic bread as usual.
All right, we're back. So now let's start with Fluency Builder.
Fluency Builder.
Our first item in Fluency Builder we've already talked about. The number in America to call when you have an emergency is 911. So we usually say, hey, dial 911.
Okay, so that's a verb there, to dial.
Exactly. To dial means to select the numbers for a phone call, to telephone someone.
To telephone someone, to dial. So you can dial 911 or dial my office number.
Or I tried to dial your home number, but no one answered.
Okay. Now, you can call 911 for many different situations or emergency. One of the kids said, well, if my grandpa had a heart attack.
Okay, so this is an example of an emergency. A heart attack is a medical problem. It's when your heart cannot receive oxygen.
Okay, so your heart stops beating sometimes.
That's right. It's when your heart does not receive enough blood or oxygen, so it's when your heart stops beating.
Okay, very good. So that's a heart attack. Now, another possible emergency situation is if the fire alarm goes off.
This often happens in office buildings and schools. So you hear a dee or some kind of strange noise. Well, that's because there's maybe a fire or some smoke in your building. And so usually when this sound goes off, it automatically calls the police and the fire department.
Okay. Now, there's an interesting phrasal verb that is used along with this word fire alarm. We say the fire alarm goes off or the fire alarm went off. So that means it started to sound, to emit a sound.
So the verb here, as you said, it's a phrasal verb, is to go off. To go off. We could say my alarm went off. Or every morning at 7 o'clock, my alarm goes off.
Okay, that means your alarm begins to make a sound.
A very annoying sound.
Right.
You know, it's the worst sound ever. But a lot of things can go off. We could talk about a bell or an alarm.
Or fireworks.
Fireworks go off.
Okay. And, well, the last emergency that we were talking about is if a robber broke into the house. So if a robber breaks in.
To break into. This means to enter, to go inside without permission or without a key. Illegally. So you don't have to break something, but usually you break a window or a door. But this means that someone comes into your house looking to steal something.
So usually you have to use force. For example, if I forget my keys inside my car, and I have to break into my own car, that means maybe I have to force the door open or maybe break the window.
Yeah, it's not fun. I think it usually ends up being very expensive.
Yes, it does. All right, so those are all the phrases we have for today. Why don't we listen to our dialogue for the very last time?
Alright, class, now that we're all dressed up, let's see what professions you chose. I see a fireman, a police officer, a medic, and a lifeguard. Can anyone tell me what these people have in common?
They save people from bad things?
That's right! Now, class, if something bad happened and you had to get help, do you know what phone number you would call?
911.
Yes! You would pick up the phone and dial 911. What are some emergency situations in which you would need to dial 911?
If my grandpa had a heart attack. If there was an accident. If a robber broke into the house. If the fire alarm went off. I wouldn't call 911 if the fire alarm went off in my house. The only time that ever happens is when we're having spaghetti for supper and my mom burns the garlic bread as usual.
So, Marco, when you were a kid and your teacher said, what jobs are there, what professions are there, what profession would you like, what did you answer?
I always wanted to be a pilot.
Oh, pilot. So you wanted to fly airplanes.
Yeah, I wanted to be a jet pilot. Actually, I collected books about it. I read up about it. So even till now, I probably still remember like the capacity of certain jets or what types of weapons they have. I was really, really into it.
Wow, I never knew this about you.
Yeah. What about you?
Oh, I could never decide as a kid. I remember we had to draw pictures of what I will look like in 20 years. And everyone had these pictures. I will be a doctor. I'll be a veterinarian. I'll be the president. I never knew what to draw. So, I think I copied my friend. She wanted to be a lawyer. And I thought, okay, that sounds okay.
Yeah, I think it's hard. And usually what you want to be as a kid, you don't do it when you're older. I couldn't do it because of my vision. I didn't have 20/20 vision to actually join the Air Force. So
well, and a lot of kids don't know how many jobs there are out there. The big ones: doctor, lawyer, fireman, policeman, astronaut.
Right.
So I guess the question for you is, what's your profession? Tell us about it, especially if it's one of the less famous professions out there, because there's a lot that I don't know about those.
Hello, everyone. In this topic, we'll explore a very important part of life, emergencies. These are moments when something goes wrong and people need help fast. Emergencies can happen anywhere, at home, in the street, at work, or even on vacation. Knowing how to talk about emergencies in English can help you stay safe and help others too. In the United States, when there is an emergency, people pick up the phone and dial 911. This number connects you to the police, fire department, or medical help. It is fast, simple, and available 24 hours a day. But even if you don't live in the US, learning these emergency words is useful because many countries have similar systems, and the words are often the same. Imagine someone falls and can't get up. Maybe you see a car accident. Maybe there's smoke and a fire alarm goes off. In these situations, staying calm and knowing the right words can make a big difference. You might say, "There's been an accident," or "someone needs help." In this topic, you'll learn about the jobs of emergency workers like firemen, police officers, medics, and lifeguards. You'll also learn useful phrases like break into, heart attack, and call for help. These expressions are not just for textbooks, they're for real life. So as we begin, think about this. If something bad happened, could you explain it in English? Could you ask for help or understand what someone tells you? If not yet, don't worry. We're about to learn together, step by step. When something goes wrong, certain people are trained to help. These are emergency workers. They are professionals, and they do important jobs that protect others. These jobs are called professions. Some are easy to recognize. People often dress up like them during school events or Halloween because they are seen as heroes. One of the most familiar professions is the fireman. Firemen do more than fight fires. They rescue people, help during car accidents, and respond when alarms go off. When someone calls for help, firemen are ready to jump into action, often wearing heavy protective clothing and using powerful equipment to keep people safe. Another important person in emergencies is the police officer. Some people say policeman or policewoman, but police officer works for everyone. Police officers protect people, stop dangerous situations, and make sure that laws are followed. They are trained to act quickly if there is trouble. In some countries, the police are the first to arrive when someone dials 911. There is also the medic. A medic is not exactly a doctor, but someone trained to give emergency medical care. If a person is injured or having a heart attack, a medic can help right away. Medics often ride in an ambulance and take people to the hospital. They give first aid and check your condition before the doctors take over. And then there's the lifeguard. Lifeguards work near water, at pools, beaches, or lakes. Their job is to watch people swimming and jumping if someone is in danger. They help people who can't swim or are too tired to get back to shore. They're easy to spot, often sitting in tall chairs and wearing bright colors. These people all have one thing in common. They act fast, stay calm, and help others. They're trained to deal with difficult situations. Learning about their jobs helps you understand who to call and what to say when an emergency happens. These professions are not just careers, they're lifelines. They show us how being ready, brave, and helpful can save lives. Every day, small problems happen. You might spill something, lose your keys, or burn your dinner. These are not emergencies. But sometimes, something serious happens, and you need help right away. That's when we call it an emergency. In an emergency, time matters. You must act quickly and often call for help. In the United States, people dial 911. But the important thing is knowing when to make that call. You shouldn't call emergency services for simple problems. But if someone is in danger, hurt, or scared, it may be time to act. Imagine someone in your house has a heart attack. They fall to the ground, can't breathe, and need help fast. This is definitely an emergency. Another example is a car accident, especially if someone is hurt or stuck. You can say, "There's been an accident," or "Someone is injured." Another situation is when a robber breaks into your home. This means someone enters your house without permission, usually to steal something. This is scary and dangerous. In English, we say break into when someone enters by force. For example, someone broke into our house last night. Sometimes you hear an alarm, like a fire alarm. This can happen in schools, hotels, or your home. If there's smoke or a real fire, you need to get out quickly and call for help. In English, we say the alarm goes off when it starts making noise. The fire alarm went off means the alarm started ringing. It's also important not to panic. In an emergency, try to speak clearly. Use short sentences. Say what happened, where you are, and what kind of help is needed. You might say, "My father fell. He's not moving," or "There's smoke in the building." When you know how to recognize an emergency and you know what to say, you can protect yourself and help others. Being calm, clear, and ready makes a big difference in dangerous moments. In an emergency, you may need to talk to someone on the phone, like a 911 operator or an emergency responder. This can feel scary, especially in English. But if you stay calm and know a few key phrases, you can give the right information quickly and clearly. The first thing you do is pick up the phone and dial the emergency number. In the United States, this number is 911. In other countries, the number may be different, but the idea is the same. You call and someone answers to help you. The person who answers will probably ask questions. They want to know what happened, where it happened, and who needs help. That's why it's helpful to practice simple sentences like these. "There's been an accident. My mother is hurt. Someone broke into our house. We need a fire truck. There's smoke. I think there's a fire." Try to say where you are. Use your address if you know it. If not, describe your location. "I'm near the big supermarket," or "We're at the beach, near the lifeguard station." These details help emergency workers get to you fast. You might also use important verbs like "go off," as in the fire alarm went off. This tells the operator that there might be danger. You can also use break into, like "a man broke into our house." These are phrasal verbs that carry strong meaning in just a few words. If someone is sick or hurt, describe what you see. "He's not breathing," or "she can't move her arm." If you think it might be a heart attack, you can say, "I think he's having a heart attack." These words help medics prepare for what they will find when they arrive. Even if your English is not perfect, don't be afraid to speak. Emergency workers are trained to listen carefully and ask questions to help you. Just speak slowly, use the words you know, and answer as best as you can. You don't need to speak fast or use difficult vocabulary. The most important thing is to stay calm and be clear. That way, the people who help you can do their job, and you can feel safer and more in control. Emergencies often come without warning, but being ready can help you stay safe. You don't need to be a firefighter or a police officer to protect yourself or your family. Knowing what to do and how to talk about it in English can make a big difference. One good habit is to learn the emergency number in your country. In the United States, it's 911. In the UK, it's 999. In Europe, it might be 112. You can write this number on the wall, save it in your phone, or teach it to children. In English, we say dial 911 or pick up the phone and call for help. Another smart step is to understand the meaning of alarms. A fire alarm, for example, is a loud sound that warns people about danger. If it goes off, it means something might be wrong. Learn how to leave the building safely, where the exits are, and what to do next. It also helps to know a few key words. Words like robber, accident, fire, or emergency are important when reading signs, hearing announcements, or telling someone what's happening. Even children can learn to say simple sentences like, "There's a fire," or "Help, someone fell." You can also talk about emergency plans with your family. Who will you call? Where will you meet if you get separated? These questions help you feel more in control during scary moments. In English, these are called safety plans or emergency plans. Sometimes emergencies happen in public places, on the street, in a mall, or near water. That's when professionals like lifeguards, police officers, and medics are ready to help. It's okay to ask them questions. You can say, "Can you help me?" or "What should I do?" These small phrases can lead to big help. Being prepared is not about being afraid. It's about being ready. When you know what to do and how to speak, you feel stronger, even in a difficult situation. And when you stay safe, you also help others stay safe too. Even when there is no danger, people often talk about emergencies. You might hear about them on the news, in conversations, or at school. Knowing how to talk about these situations helps you join the conversation and share your own experiences. People often say things like, "The fire alarm went off at work today," or "My neighbor had a heart attack last weekend." These phrases are part of everyday speech. Understanding them helps you follow the story, respond politely, or even offer support. You can also talk about things that have happened to you. Maybe you can say, "I had to dial 911 once when someone broke into our house," or "We called a medic when my grandfather fell." Sharing stories helps you practice English and also build confidence. You don't need perfect grammar to be clear, just simple sentences and the right words. Emergency jobs are also common in small talk or interviews. You might hear questions like, "Have you ever wanted to be a fireman?" or "Do you know any police officers?" In these moments, it's helpful to know how to describe those professions. For example, a lifeguard works at the beach and helps people who can't swim, or a medic gives first aid before someone gets to the hospital. These words are also useful when watching movies or reading books. Many action scenes include emergencies. When a character says, "Call the police," or "The building's on fire," you'll understand what's happening and enjoy the story more. Learning to talk about emergencies in English isn't just about danger. It's about becoming part of the world around you. These are real topics that connect people through stories, safety tips, and everyday conversation. In every emergency, there are people who run toward the danger instead of away from it. These are the helpers, the firefighters, police officers, medics, lifeguards, and many more. Their jobs are not just professions. They are a promise to care for others, no matter the situation. When we learn English through the words and actions of these professionals, we also learn something deeper: how to stay calm, how to speak clearly, and how to act with courage. Helpers show us the power of short, strong messages. "Stay back. Call 911. Are you okay?" These are simple words, but they can save lives. Even if you're not an emergency worker, you can still learn from them. You can be prepared, know the signs of danger, and speak up when someone needs help. In English, this means using verbs like dial, pick up, go off, break into, or phrases like tend to panic or stay calm. These are not just grammar points. They're tools you can use in real life. Helping others is also a great way to practice English. You might volunteer, take a first aid class, or simply explain safety rules to a friend or family member. Every time you teach or support someone, you build your skills and your confidence. And sometimes, the smallest things can make the biggest difference. Noticing smoke, hearing an alarm, or calling for help at the right time. All these actions are important. And when you can explain them in English, you open the door to helping not only yourself, but others too. So the next time you hear about a fireman rescuing someone or a lifeguard saving a swimmer, remember, you're also learning to be brave, smart, and helpful. You're learning the language of heroes.
The English Pod Audio Review. Listen to the meaning, then say the vocabulary word.
To put on fancy dress or a disguise. Dress up. An occupation requiring special training. Profession. Person who puts out fires and rescues people. Fireman. Policeman or policewoman. Police officer. Person who protects people from drowning. Lifeguard. To press the buttons to make a telephone call. Dial. To enter a house illegally, especially by force. Break into. To ring or sound loudly. Go off. Person who robs or steals. Robber. Painful condition where the heart stops beating. Heart attack.
Take up by hand. Pick up.
Let's try that faster.
Painful condition where the heart stops beating. Heart attack. To enter a house illegally, especially by force. Break into. Person who puts out fires and rescues people. Fireman. To ring or sound loudly. Go off. An occupation requiring special training. Profession.
Take up by hand. Pick up.
Policeman or policewoman. Police officer. Person who protects people from drowning. Lifeguard. To put on fancy dress or a disguise. Dress up. To press the buttons to make a telephone call. Dial. Person who robs or steals. Robber.
Now say the word and hear it in a sentence.
Dress up.
I dressed up as a policeman for Halloween.
Dress up.
There was an event this weekend where all the guests had to dress up as angels.
Dress up.
I think it's cute when children dress up for Halloween. Pick up. If you have an emergency, pick up the phone and call the police. Pick up. Pick up these toys from the ground. Pick up. I dropped my pencil. Can you bend over and pick it up for me, please?
Dial.
Pick up the phone and dial this number.
Dial.
I wanted to dial, but I couldn't remember the number.
Dial.
It's hard for me to dial a number on this phone. The buttons are too small.
Break into.
We had a break-in last weekend.
Break into.
The thief broke in the apartment and stole the TV.
Break into.
I had to break into my own car last night because I forgot the keys inside.
Go off.
My car alarm goes off whenever someone gets near my car.
Go off.
The fire alarm went off in our school today.
Go off.
My alarm clock goes off every morning at 6.